YouTube? Welcome back to another video on the Unguardable Podcast. Happy to be back with y'all. First episode of 2025, and we are here recapping NFL Week 17. So let's get right to it. What's that say? Kawhi Leonard expected to make a season debut. When is that supposed to be? What's that say?
Tomorrow. Go coming back.
That's interesting. Interesting. First things first, I want to mention this was a crazy week. Like I said, this is probably going to be the last competitive week that we have in football, because next week is week 18, and we have a lot of backups playing. So this is probably going to be the last week that we see these high scoring games and just such crazy amounts of games. So let's get right to it, y'all. Starting with the top left-hand corner, as you see, with an intense, crazy, high-scoring game. The Bengals pulled it out over the Denver Broncos in overtime. A thrilling game, man. That game came down to the wire on a Saturday night, man. That shit was lit, man. That was a lit doubleheader. Hey, I was not expecting that, but shout out to the Bengals and Joe Burrow, man. The Rams pulled it out over the Arizona Cardinals. The Miami Dolphins pulled it out over the Cleveland Browns. The Minnesota Vikings pulled out that division rival win over the Packers, 27-25. The Buffalo Bills blew the brakes off the New York Jets, man. Oh my, man. They just embarrassed Aaron Rodgers, man. It just didn't look good at all. But as well as the Jaguars pulled it out over the Tennessee Titans. And then moving on to the right-hand side, on Christmas Day, the Kansas City Chiefs had to spoil Christmas for the unfortunate Steelers, man. Just Russell Wilson, man, I know you have Sierra. You probably was happy to go home to that wife of yours, because I tell you what, Patrick Mahomes made an upset Christmas for you, dropping that 29 piece on you. And then in a crazy, thrilling Sunday night football header, two rookies clashed off with Jaden Daniels and Michael Penix, and Jaden Daniels came out on top with that W, 30-24, as y'all see, over the Atlanta Falcons. And then a Monday night cursor that I don't really want to talk about, but we will get to, is the Niners losing to the Detroit Lions 40-34. We did put up a good game, though. 34 points is pretty impressive for the 49ers. I think that's probably the most points we've dropped all year, I feel like. As well as the Las Vegas Raiders, they got a W over the Saints. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing as far as draft stock-wise. Raiders fans, you let me know, but you guys got a W. And then as well as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that man Baker Mayfield's been baking. He dropped 5 touchdowns on the Carolina Panthers that past week, man. So shout out to Baker Mayfield out there hooping. And then the most boring game of the week, as you see, the Seattle Seahawks versus Chicago Bears, 6-3, a snooze fest of a game, man. It was horrible. But it was a bad game. But moving on to the games of the week that deserve the shine. These games stood out the most, in my opinion, and they were just some crazy-ass blowouts. The Chargers pulled it out over the New England Patriots 40-7. Oh, my gosh. Justin Herbert was slanging that. Vlad McConkey, I believe, finished with like 2 tutties that day. Man, they was feasting over there. They was just going all out. One game that I did not expect to be a high-scoring game was this game, and that is the New York Giants versus the Indianapolis Colts. What in the world is the New York Giants doing, dropping 45 points, and the Indianapolis Colts dropping 33? I had the Colts defense in fantasy, y'all, and they literally had -4 points because they had 45 points dropped on them. I don't know what it is, but Drew Lock, every year that he gets a starting spot, he gets a starting role, he has one game. Every game, and I saw a stat. It was crazy. It was just like every year for the past like 3 seasons, that Drew Lock starts one game, he always has just one crazy ass game where it's just insane. And as you see, he dropped 45 points. Had Malik Neighbors looking like the best rookie wide receiver out there in the class right now. Man, oh man! Shout out to Drew Lock and the Giants. I don't know if that necessarily benefits them for their draft stock, but We'll see. The Philadelphia Eagles pulled out a big major W, dropping 41 points over the Dallas Cowboys. A measly little 7. They got one little bitty touchdown. That didn't look good. Saquon Barkley put off an amazing performance, but as well as Jalen Hurts got hurt that game. They played with 2 backups. What's his name? No, Jalen Hurts didn't even play. What's his name played? I don't know why I can't remember his name right now off the top of my head. The Eagles backup, but he ended up starting, and then he ended up getting hurt, and they had their 3rd string quarterback coming in there, and he ended up slinging. And I think that was Tanner McKee or somebody like that, if I'm not mistaken. But insane. And then last but not least, the Baltimore Ravens pulling out the dub over the Houston Texans on Christmas Day, 31-2, embarrassing by the Texans to only score 2 points a whole football game. That's insane. I believe I saw a stat not too long ago that they were like only one of like 10 teams or something like that, 15 teams ever in history to finish a game with 2 points. It's very rare that a team finishes the game with 2 points. It's actually insane. But I just want to give some shout outs to the people on the screen. As you see on the bottom right, we'll get to the bottom left, but on the bottom right hand corner, Joe Burrow is the only player in NFL history with 250 passing yards, 3 touchdowns in 8 straight games. That's actually insane. But shout out to Joe Burrow. He's putting on an MVP caliber performance. We'll talk to Killer Cam and see who he thinks is the MVP of the year between Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Saquon Barkley. It could be anybody that you want to choose. We're also going to give another shout out to Brock Bowers for beating the receiving record for most receptions by a rookie, and as well as the tight end record for most receptions in the season. He beat out Mike Ditka for that record. So shout out to Brock Bowers. And then something that I've never seen before, and man oh man, is this man good at this game of football. Jaden Daniels. He has Cam. This man has 5. 5, Cam. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4. 5 touchdowns thrown in the last 30 seconds. 30 seconds of the game. That's an NFL record. I've never seen this done before in my life. He is clutch. That's like being the Steph Curry of the football world, bro. Like 5 touchdowns in the last 30 seconds. Insane. And as well as he has 12 touchdowns in the 4th quarter / overtime, which is a rookie record, man. So shout out to Jaden Daniels putting on the show over there in Washington. And then moving on to the depressing 49ers. It's been a bad season. It's just been rough all throughout the year. And as you see, Brock Purdy did, unfortunately, suffer a minor injury in our game against the Detroit Lions. Joshua Dobbs ended up finishing that game. Thankfully, it's nothing too serious. As you see, he avoided serious injury to the elbow, but he just some inflammatory issues. So hopefully this offseason he can rehab and everything's going well. In my opinion, I think we should draft a quarterback because, not saying that Brock isn't the guy, but I think that he was kind of comfortable this year, and think if we could have some competition in the room, and not just with Brock Purdy, but every position that we have, I feel like we should draft for. Bring some competition in the room. It could bring some some more interest to the bring some more interest to the conversation. I think Brock will want to play better if there was some competition in there. As well as Jake Moody. Unfortunately, he gets me very, very moody. He leads the league in worst field goal percentage since he returned in week 10. I don't think he's healthy, in my opinion. I never thought he was healthy. A lot of the 49er insiders said that even when he was kicking, he even said that he wasn't fully healthy and that he still felt minor pain, but they still was trying to get him to go and rushing him to get back. Like Anderson, Carlson, and Matthew Wright weren't decent replacements. They weren't the best kickers in the world, but they didn't miss a field goal, unlike Jake Moody. He has. Talk to me. What you think was your biggest surprises this week? I did a lot of yap session. was a lot. It was a lot going on, bro. A lot of high scoring games. We could talk about the 49ers and that, and how you feel about Brock Purdy even playing in the game in general. That didn't even matter. That had a backup O-line in. Backup O-line. In my opinion, I think Joshua Dobbs should have been playing the whole game in general, so Brock shouldn't have even gotten hurt. Kittle shouldn't have even played. Debo Samuel, none of these dudes should even be playing the last 2 games. They're not even going to play the last game anyways. It's going to be a Josh Dobbs, Jawan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall, Isaac Guerrero show. It's like the Warriors. It's like with the Warriors watching a bunch of Moses Moody and Pajitsky and Jonathan Kuminga, and gonna watch all of our third stringers out there. So, but besides that, how'd you feel about the other games this week, man?
Now the most surprising was definitely the Texans.
2 points?
As everybody's been saying, man, ever since CJ tried to give Caleb Williams some advice, man, just been bad. So I don't know what's going on with him.
He gave him that little fucking advice. He tried to tap him on the shoulder. It was like, hey man, keep your head up.
Yeah. Not it. The Niners, I'm not mad at the Niners playing their players. You don't want to just go out there and give the Lions a win, especially after the way they've been talking. And they was even talking after the game, so you definitely don't just want to lay down for the Lions. I would definitely wanted to go out there and try to win against them. Moody.
Worst field goal percentage since he's returned.
Good luck to Moody on his next team, man.
Next team? Is he even gonna have a job, Cam?
He's gonna be playing. He's gonna be teammates with Destroying in the XFL.
Not Destroying.
Good luck to Moody.
Bruh. No. Don't throw shots at Destroying, bruh.
That's not a shot at Destroying. I don't even think Destroying's still on that team.
Yeah, he might be chilling. He might be really content creation now, focusing.
No, yeah, he got hurt. But anyways, speak on the draft. I don't know who we should draft. It really don't matter because we got holes to fill. So I trust the front office, whoever they want to draft, whoever they want to take.
I don't trust.
As far as drafting the QB, I don't know if drafting the QB is necessarily going to be a competition thing. Like, we've seen some QBs take offense to that. Like, oh, you wanna try to replace me? I don't know how the type of person Purdy is. Maybe he'll look at it as competition, or maybe he'll look at it as like, oh, y'all want to replace me, and he might leave.
What about bringing up a backup like some people are saying, I don't think he's the answer, but a lot of people are saying like Kirk Cousins, because Kyle Shanahan likes Kirk Cousins as a backup. But if you pay somebody like him, or some people are talking about Zach Wilson, like some type of those people experiments, not necessarily.
I don't know if we have the money for that.
Like a $5 million contract. That's what backups usually are. $5 million.
Is Kirk Cousins signing that?
I mean, if he gets cut, he's not gonna be under that contract, right? If they cut him, right? He's not gonna be getting paid that money. I think they said, right? If they like cut him after a certain date, they're not.
I don't know, but I don't know if Kirk Cousins signed for that little money. I think Kirk Cousins still wants to go play somewhere. I don't know where that can be at.
What about drafting?
Honestly, I want to talk about.
What you want to talk
about? I don't think we need a running back. We got Elijah Mitchell gonna be back.
Oh no. Elijah Mitchell, no. That ship has sailed, Cam. I'm sorry, bro. Don't do that. You're on that Steve Kerr shit. You're on that Steve Kerr shit. You're on that Steve Kerr shit, relying on the old days. No, bruh. We need fresh.
Elijah Mitchell.
Fresh and
Elijah
new.
Mitchell look good.
Elijah Mitchell's old and injury prone. We need more Isaac Guerrendos, more Jordan Mason. That's what we need. Even though Jordan Mason's gonna be a free agent, he could potentially
running back is the last position we need. You could sign a running back.
Chat, this man said this. What?
That's literally the
Christian
last
McCaffrey literally has no legs. Jordan Mason could potentially leave because he's not getting
Bro,
re-signed, and we have Isaac Garendo as our starting running back. You know Isaac Garendo is our starting running back probably as of right now for next year because Christian
bro,
McCaffrey's still hurt, bro.
the Niners, the Niners
Said
could
we
put me
don't
out
need a
there,
running
bro.
back.
They,
What?
they could put me out there, and I'm rushing for 1,000 yards, bro.
Chat, listen to
The
me.
Niners just
We need to
get
try to
running backs
draft
in.
Cam Scatterboo, some type of
No, running back's
running
the
back
last
that.
position they need to worry about in the draft.
I
That's
mean,
the
yeah,
last position I would
I agree.
prioritize.
I agree. It should be a position if there's a running back to fall, Scatterboo, a Judikins, a Trayvon Henderson. You know, some of these dudes that are good running backs. If they
I think
fall
you could.
to day 3,
I think
day 4, we can get that. I
I
agree. We
think you
need to
can
prioritize
sign an
O line
undrafted
and D
running
line.
back. I don't think you need to draft a running back. Bro, the Niners turn any running back and make them look good. There's way more positions that need to be filled. They're talking about Ward not coming back.
I agree. The defense
That's a
needs to be
whole
looked at. Offensive
cornerback,
line,
Pro Bowl cornerback.
100% needs to be looked at, bro. I don't care what anybody says, bro. We literally have Trent Williams, and that's it.
Got our linebackers not out there. There's a lot of positions out there where I would feel like we need to fulfill before running back. But anyways, what I was about to say is I think Baker should have been a Pro Bowler, bro. Like over Sam Darnold.
What about Patrick
And
Mahomes? He's 15-1. He's the best quarterback in
now
the league. His team is 15-1.
it's not really because of Mahomes, man.
It's not because of Mahomes.
I'm actually a Mahomes fan. Like everybody
Mahomes
made
only has
Mahomes.
one bad game this whole year, if you be honest, and it was against us.
Okay.
He had
And
more
how many
picks. He had more picks than
and,
touchdowns that game.
and how many great games did he have?
I mean, it's not vintage Mahomes, but he's winning games. He's playing winning football. I hate Mahomes, but I'm just saying. They say that's what
He hasn't
people are
had
arguing.
great games.
That's what people are
Who
arguing.
what AFC
But listen, what's more valuable, stats or winning games? Joe Burrow has the most yards, most touchdowns, whatever. Lamar Jackson has, you feel me, is the most valuable on his team. If the Ravens don't have Lamar Jackson, there is no Ravens. Josh Allen literally is the Bills. But James Cook, did you know James Cook led the league in rushing touchdowns, Cam? He led the league in rushing touchdowns. And arguably the Bills has one of the best offensive line in the league. But people don't want to talk about that. You feel me? Nobody mentions that. Offensive line means something. Having a good front four means something.
Bro, winning is too much of a team stat. Like I just looked at it. The Chiefs have the number 4 defense in the NFL. Like that's a credit to their record. I'm not saying Mahomes or the offense isn't, but their defense is just as much as part of their record as their offense. Like you can't credit Mahomes for that. So I think when you're looking at Pro Bowl,
but you could take away credit.
not
You could take away credit for everybody because of that.
not everything is just the stats, but I mean, if Mahomes was in the NFC, then maybe, but he's not making it over Josh, Joe, or Lamar. But anyways, I think Baker should have been in over Sam. Jared Goff and Jaden Daniels, I'm not mad at those 2 picks, but I think he should have made it over Sam.
Baker Mayfield's been doing it with less weapons.
Yeah. I feel like the Vikings
his 2
don't get
weapons
enough
haven't even
respect.
been healthy all year. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Sam, that's the thing. I'm glad you brought that up, Cam, because I have the biggest issue with people giving Sam Darnold all this beautiful treatment. He should get paid 40 mil, 50 mil, all this money and stuff, and he gets glorified, but Brock Purdy doesn't get no credit for when he was doing his for success. When Brock Purdy was having success when we were healthy, everybody was called, oh, he's a super team, it's an adventure, he's a system quarterback. But Sam Darnold has one of the best fucking offensive coordinators / head coaches in KO, Kevin O'Connell. He has a great defensive coordinator on his side, you feel me? That's with a great defense. He has Justin Jefferson, who's literally arguably number 1A, 1B wide receiver with Jamar Chase, and Jordan Addison is arguably top along with them duo. You feel me? As a duo together, they're top 5. You feel me? They have a decent running back in Aaron Jones, T.J. Hutchinson. He's a top 3, top 4 tight end, right behind Kittle and Brock and fucking, you feel me, Laporta. Like Hutchinson's right along with them boys. It's like I just feel like he's just getting so all this credit, and it's like, bro, you have a good team around you. You feel me? What's up?
Really? I kind of feel the opposite. Like, I feel like the Vikings aren't really, which is it's
Have you
understandable, but
done
I
your
don't feel like
fantasy
they've really
segment?
been credited.
Nah, we haven't talked about it
Oh, well, cut this and add it to the fantasy segment. And I don't know when it's going up, but just know I'm finna beat you in fantasy this week. Because I'm already ahead.
yet. Okay.
Like 30.
Okay.
And Cam, how do you feel? Because I won both of your fantasy leagues with your friends.
Hey, my team is hurt, man. We was banged up.
First year.
He said my team is hurt.
I
So
lost.
was
I lost
mine.
Diggs. I lost um
I was trying to tell her
Isaiah
half
Pacheco.
half of the people in both leagues were inactive, bruh. Niggas was not subbing in
Yeah, that
players.
too.
They was
That
not
too.
subbing in
But
players, and they was not
bro,
subbing out the hurt players, bruh.
man, I wish I was healthy this year, bro.
Next year will be some fun. We'll have some fun rookies and stuff. So yeah, I 100% agree. So wait. So explain to me, why do you say you feel different about
Because I feel like Minnesota doesn't get talked about enough.
talked about
Like I
enough?
was watching. I forgot. I don't remember what I was watching, but I looked at the record. I'm like, yo, they're like what,
How much longer, babe?
14-2,
We just started.
something crazy. Like they've barely lost this year. I'm like, wow, Minnesota really isn't getting talked about. Like I mean, which is understandable because
But
at
if
the
they're
end of
not
the
getting
day,
recognition, they just got a Pro Bowler, like you just said. That's their recognition, right? Sam Darnold made it, right? You said
yeah,
that's
but
recognition.
I don't think Sam Darnold deserves that though. Like I agree with you were saying. Like you can't really, I don't know. I don't really attest their success so much on Sam Darnold. I just feel like the team needs to get talked about enough. Sam Darnold making it isn't really. I don't
Like
know.
my
That really
example,
doesn't.
my example is when Kirk Cousins played with O'Connell. He got paid by the Falcons the next year because everybody thought Kirk Cousins was back to Kirk Cousins, but he was playing with Justin Jefferson and had Kevin O'Connell. Look what happened with Sam Darnold. I'm not saying he's not a good quarterback at all, but I'm just saying sometimes the situation around you is what it is. It's good. So you're telling me do you think Brock Purdy, if he was playing for the Minnesota Vikings right now, they wouldn't be in the same situation?
I don't know. I don't know about that because Brock Purdy's flaws, like sometimes they do stick out some because when you do look at the success that he's had, you expect him to play at a certain level, and sometimes he just doesn't play at that level. Versus with Sam Darnold, there is really no expectation for Sam Darnold. So if Brock Purdy has a 6 out of 10 game, it looks worse than if Sam Darnold has a 6 out of 10 game because of Sam Darnold. We've seen Brock Purdy have so much success, so it's kind of hard to measure like them both as quarterbacks.
Nah. All right. How do you feel about that Buffalo game versus the Bengal not Buffalo. I'm sorry. You don't care about Buffalo in New York. The Bengals versus the Denver game. Did you happen to see that? Where Mims caught that game tying touchdown in the corner over the 2 contested catches, and then T Higgins went for 3 touchdowns. Do you think T Higgins potentially leaves? We'll talk about that.
Nah.
T.
To go
Higgins
where?
says to the Patriots.
Me,
And play with who?
What?
Lee and Tania are going on the drive.
Okay. Sorry, I'm laughing because you just asked me a question.
Oh, here's the
I
person.
sounded like Flight going to the Patriots.
Yeah. I would. I would not do that to myself.
Wait, she's tired.
Yes.
So do I have to hurry up?
I mean, yeah, kind of.
All right. What you call it? That's funny. I think Higgins leaves though, low key. If the right team offers him the right money and he goes to a team with a quarterback, shit. Why not come to the San
Man,
Francisco
this is
49ers?
like
Why not come to the San Francisco 49ers? Let's be real.
what's the NBA comparison?
Let's be real,
to
bruh.
this?
Let's be real. What, T. Higgins? T. Higgins is like what? The
Like,
Kawhi Leonard? The Paul George? T. Higgins reminds me of Paul George. For sure. For sure.
no, I'm
PG?
trying to think of the situation, not the skill or play.
Okay.
It's
I'll put her
like
in the car, but can you take her
I don't know.
from the car when I get back?
Yeah. Huh?
So I don't know, but like I feel like this T Higgins leaving conversation has been going on for too long, bro.
He ain't gonna do it.
It's been going on for years, bro. He's not going nowhere unless it's like Clay.
As you see in the top of the screen, my girlfriend was mentioning all that chit chat about the fantasy stuff, and as you see, I'm playing her this week. And Joe Burrow, as we talked about, had him a hell of a game, and he dropped 36 fantasy points with Gibbs dropping 26. She had Tajay Spears, who dropped a little dud for her, but she had Lad McConkey, who went off, Trey McBride, who went off, and the Ravens defense, who had 14 fantasy points, as well as her kicker, who had 11. And my team had some bright spots, but low spots as well. Drayden Daniels dropped a nice 31 fantasy points. Derek with a nice 24. And Bijan with a nice 24. But I had a few duds. A.J. Brown dropped 12. Lad did have 29, so 12 to 29 is kind of a dud compared. And then Nico Collins only dropped 8.9. She did have JSN, who had 6.2, but 8.9, I guess that beats 6.2, but it's still a dud. Ertz kind of stepped up for me and dropped 25 fantasy points, and then Brian Thomas Jr., aka BTJ, he dropped 23.9 fantasy points for me. And then the biggest seller of them all was the Colts defense dropping -4 fantasy points. The thing that hurt me was that earlier that day, or earlier that week, I put in my waivers for the defense, and I saw the Colts were playing the Giants, and I was like, man, this is going to be a perfect defense to play against them. And I ended up dropping the Buffalo Bills. Yes, the Buffalo Bills defense, literally a week prior to playing them. And the Buffalo Bills, as y'all saw, killed the New York Giants and sacked Aaron Rodgers so many times. Those dudes ended up with 16 fantasy points. So it killed me that I had 16 fantasy points that I could have had off of a defense that I dropped earlier in the week. So it kind of killed me. But that's fantasy football, man. You live and you die by certain things that you do. And then on the right-hand side of the screen, as you see, I played in my 12-man league, my Money Man league. The week prior, we didn't do a recap of week 16, but I did lose in the first round, so I'm actually fighting for third place right now. I didn't make it to the championship in my 12-man league, so I'm fighting for third place right now, and I am losing. I am behind. So we'll see how this week goes, but I just want to give some quick shout outs to some fantasy players that stood out, especially for that Monday night game with the Niners. As y'all see, we had Jared Goff and Brock Purdy both dropping 25 and 30 fantasy points. Jahmyr Gibbs with 26. Fucking Ricky had 26. Amon Ra with 20. Laporta with 18. Kittle with 19 fantasy points. Jameson Williams with 24 fantasy points. And then we want to give another big shout out to BTJ. This is some dude that has been playing very, very well. And he has not had a quarterback pretty consistently all throughout the year with Trevor Lawrence being in and out the lineup, and he's been doing this with backups, y'all, aka Mac Jones. And this dude, when I tell you guys, I would have not expected this, and thankfully I drafted him. He is hooping. The wide receivers with more fantasy points than Brian Thomas Jr. this year, Cam, are only three. Three! Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Just those three specific dudes have more fantasy points than him. Everybody else is under him. Think about any receiver you could think about in the league that isn't named those three dudes. They ain't got it. So shout out to BTJ. And, man, hopefully maybe Trevor Lawrence stays healthy for you next year, and you'll be able to have a even better season than you're already having. And then moving on to this, little crazy stat real quick, Cam. I just saw this weird little stat that Louisiana players, for some reason, just have something in their blood that they just been doing, you know? It's just weird, you know. Hopefully, maybe we can see some stat like this come out soon with some California blood. But for some reason, Louisiana just has something in their water, in their food, that just has these football players playing different. And as you see, Louisiana has 4 of the top 5 leading receivers in the NFL that were born, with being Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Brian Thomas Jr., and I guess a bonus is Malik Neighbors as well, so which is ranked number 8. So it's pretty interesting to see that they have a lot of receivers out there that's just hooping in the NFL right now. And then to go alongside with that, not just natural-born players, but people that went to actually LSU. These dudes are actually hooping. Joe Burrow, he's first in passing yards. Jamar Chase, first in receiving yards. Justin Jefferson, second in receiving yards. Danielle Hunter, he's tied for second with sacks. Derek Stingley and Deontay Johnson, they're both tied in interceptions right now with 5. So it's pretty interesting to see what's going on with the LSU alumni putting on for their school, man. Hopefully, like I said, we can see some stuff that's going on with some California blood. And even them Bama boys, you feel me? We got to go over what you just talked about earlier, okay? We got to go over the Pro Bowlers, bro. You can see the screen, right? Alright, cool. So, we got to go over these Pro Bowlers. So, we're going to go from beginning to end. I'm going to be naming all the Pro Bowlers. And then as well as, I have this list, Cam, of people that were, quote-unquote, potentially snubbed. And you let me know who you think was snubbed potentially from the Pro Bowl. Besides, you know, you did mention Baker Mayfield. And so, I'm going to list all the Pro Bowl players. And I'm going to list a name of players that potentially were snubbed. So starting with the punters, Jack Fox, Logan Cook, Detroit Lions, and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Both got 2 of those guys up in there. We got the long snappers from the Minnesota Vikings. We have Andrew Diopala from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Ross Maddock. From special teamers, we have Cardell Hodge from the Atlanta Falcons. Brendel Schooler from the New England Patriots. Kick returners, we have Cavante Turpin and Marvin Mims Jr. From the Denver Broncos. So shout out to both of them boys. And then for the guards, we have for the Eagles, we have Landon Dickerson. For the Falcons, Chris Lindros. Cowboys, Tyler Smith. And then for the Colts, Quentin Nelson. Chiefs, Trey Smith. For the Chiefs as well, Joe Thuney. And then centers, we have Eagles, Cam Jurgens. Detroit Lions, Frank Ragnow. For the Chiefs, we have Creed Humphrey. And then for the Ravens, we have Tyler Linbaugh. Tackles, we have for the Eagles, Lane Johnson. For the Lions, Penny Sewell. Buccaneers, Tristan Wirfs. Going to the AFC, we have the Bills, Deion Dawkins. From the Chargers, Rashawn Slater. And for the Texans, Lermy Tunsil. Free safeties, Xavier McKinney from the Green Bay Packers. Minka Fitzpatrick from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Moving on to the strong safeties, we have Budda Baker from the Cardinals, Brian Branch from the Detroit Lions, Kyle Hamilton from the Ravens, and Derwin James from the Chargers. Cornerbacks, we have Jalen Johnson from the Bears, Byron Murphy from the Vikings, Jace Horn from the Panthers, Devon Witherspoon from the Seahawks. We're on to the AFC. Texans, Derek Stingley Jr., Patrick Surtain from the Broncos, the second, Marlon Humphrey from the Ravens, and Denzel Ward from the Browns. Moving on to the inside middle linebackers, we have Fred Warner from the Niners. We got Zach Bond from the Philadelphia Eagles. We got Roquan Smith from the Ravens, and Zaire Franklin from the Colts. Moving on to the outside linebackers, Jonathan Greenward from the Vikings, Andrew Van Ginkel, he's really good, I'm not even gonna lie, from the Vikings. He's pretty. I've seen some footage on him. Jared Verse from the Rams, Nick Butto from the Broncos, T.J. Watt, Steelers, and Khalil Mack from the Chargers. Interior lineman Jalen Carter from the Eagles, Sexy Dexy, aka Dexter Lawrence the second from the Giants, Vita Vea from the Bucks, Cam Hayward from the Steelers, Chris Jones from the Chiefs, and Matabuke from the Ravens. We have place kickers, aka the kickers, being Brandon Aubrey for the Cowboys, Chris Boswell, shout out to my fantasy kicker, for the Steelers. Defensive ends, we have Nick Bosa from the 49ers. We got Micah Parsons from the Cowboys, Roshan Gray from the Packers, Myles Garrett from the Browns, Trey Hendrickson for the Bengals, Max Crosby for the Raiders. I wonder who's going to be his replacement, because I know he's out for the year. So I don't think he's probably going to play. George Kittle for the San Francisco 49ers. Moving on to the tight ends. Let's go. Trey McBride for the Cardinals. And we got Brock Bowers. Shout out to another fantasy player right there. For the Raiders. And we got Travis Kelce for the Chiefs, which is pretty interesting, who's had an up and down year. So we'll talk about this. I have my own opinions about these as well. Wide receivers, we have the Vikings, Justin Jefferson, C.D. Lamb for the Cowboys, Terry McLaurin for the Commanders, Amon Ra from the Lions. And moving on to the AFC, we have Jamar Chase from the Bengals, Nico Collins for the Texans, the first Raven ever in history, which is crazy, Zay Flowers from the Ravens, and Jerry Jeudy from the Browns. Fullbacks, we have Juszczyk from the Niners, Patrick Ricard from the Ravens, and we have running backs, Saquon Barkley from the Eagles, Jahmyr Gibbs from the Lions, Josh Jacobs from the Packers, Derrick Henry from the Rams, Joe Mixon from the Texans, Jonathan Taylor from the Colts. And last but not least, we have the quarterbacks for the Pro Bowl, Jaden Daniels for the Commanders, Sam Darnold, like we previously mentioned before, with the Vikings, and Jared Goff from the Lions. And mentioned for the AFC side, Josh Allen from the Bills, Joe Burrow from the Bengals, and Lamar Jackson from the Rams. So, I'm going to list off a quick few names that I just want to list off real quick that some people said that are potential Pro Bowl snubs, and you let me know. Like you said, you already mentioned Baker Mayfield, which I have which he is first on the list with over 4,200 passing yards, 39 touchdowns, with over a 71 completion percentage. So, like you said, he has a big argument to be in there for the quarterbacks list, as well as the rookie that I mentioned earlier, Brian Thomas Jr., who has 80 receptions, over 1,000 yards, over 10 touchdowns for the year, as well as JSN, who's been over there playing very well for the Seattle Seahawks. He has over 95 receptions, over 5 touchdowns with 6, over 1,000 yards. James Cook, like I told you, he leads the league with rushing touchdowns for the year for running backs, with 15 rushing touchdowns, 981 yards, averaging 4 or 5 yards a carry. Even Kyron Williams can arguably be up there for the running backs. He has over 1,200 yards, 14 rushing touchdowns. Kirby Joseph, some people believe he got snubbed with having 9 interceptions, leads the NFL. He picked off our quarterback twice on Monday Night Football. So it's pretty interesting to see him being left off the cornerbacks list. As well as I personally believe that, in my opinion, Demo, Lenore, the guy, are what we be calling him? What we be calling him? Fucking Cam. What we be calling our boy Lenore? What's his
Barbecue
name?
chicken.
Barbecue chicken. He's led up zero touchdowns through the year, bro. What are you talking about?
Man, I found the stat I wanted to talk about.
But anyways, Lad McConkey deserves to be up in the recognition. Bijan Robinson, Christian Gonzalez, AJ Brown. There's a list goes on. So, there's a lot of Pro Bowlers that weren't listed. In my opinion, I feel like a lot of these Pro Bowlers, especially the wide receivers, I feel like a lot of them got rewarded for how they played earlier in the year and not necessarily throughout the whole year. Because some of these dudes didn't play the best throughout the whole year. You feel me? But, so anything else you want to talk about, Cam Killer Cam?
Yeah. So I seen Sleeper posted this comparing JSN and Scary Terry, comparing their stats this year, and people were trying to use this as an argument for JSN. But when I look at the stats, JSN had less than 100 more yards with over 12 more receptions and 6 less touchdowns. And to me, it's like having, yeah, 96 receptions. It is good compared to Terry's 74. But if you have 12 more receptions than someone and less than 100 more yards than them, I don't know if that's necessarily an argument for you having a better year. And then Terry has 12 touchdowns to his 6. So I think Terry does deserve it over JSN.
Mm-hmm. I can agree with that. I think the biggest thing is the quarterback. That's the only argument I have for that. That's really the only argument because JSN is a smaller player. In my opinion, and I think JSN he shadows Tyler Lockett a lot, and you know how Tyler Lockett plays. He plays inside, and that's what JSN does. He plays a lot of inside routes. Scary Terry's a vertical threat, gets down the sideline, beats his man, That's not JSN don't play that game. That's more of DK's game. Getting down, beating that one-on-one man coverage. JSN plays inside, so he that's why he has so many receptions because he just gets open, cuts inside. Gino hits him on the inside routes. He just tries to get some yardages and make some plays. And then when it gets short and condensed in the red zone, that's why the biggest thing about Geno Smith that he gets overshadowed is that he throws a lot of yardages. Like you said, JSN has a lot of receptions, but Geno passing touchdowns is nowhere near Jaden Daniels passing touchdowns. He doesn't throw touchdowns. It's just hard for them to convert in the red zone for some reason. It's weird. They got K9, so it's easier to hand it off to Kenneth Walker than it is to sometimes hand it off to Brian Robinson. He be selling the bag, fumbling the ball and shit. So. But I think that's the reason is Terry McLaurin's just he's a bigger receiver and he's just more of a vertical threat. JSN he just plays like Tyler Lockett and he does a lot of in routes. It's harder for him to score. He's a smaller receiver too. But I agree, Terry McLaurin for sure deserves it to be on that list. They were just saying JSN is somebody that could be potentially up in there, but I didn't think that touchdown margin was that wide. I knew Geno Smith didn't throw touchdowns like that. That's why I dropped him in fantasy because he doesn't throw touchdowns. He just throws yards. Okay, I get it. You throw 275 yards, but you throw one touchdown, bro. It's not beneficial, bro. I get like you throw for 300 yards and one touchdown. It's not helping you, bro. Like Jaden Daniels, he will throw for 270 or throw for 250, run for 50, run for 75. And throw and give you 3 tutties. That's what makes him amazing. That's what makes Jaden Daniels who he is, bro. But don't let it be fooled. I honestly think, in my opinion, I think that Washington, Houston, and Denver are the number 3 teams that can be bounced out the playoffs the easiest. Because if you take away Jaden Daniels' rushing game, he could be shut down. If you take away that run game, it looks ugly, bruh. It looks ugly, and we saw it in the Eagles game. Even though they won that game, obviously with the game-winning touchdown, but when you take the running game away, it makes it harder. Anything else for us, Cam Killer Cam, bro?
No,
That was a good
that's
episode.
it, man. Yeah. Deshaun Watson, 2026 MVP.
Yeah. Who's your MVP, Cam? Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Saquon
Joe
Barkley.
Burrow, man.
Joe Burrow?
I don't care about the win-loss record, bro. Joe Burrow.
Okay. My MVP vote, it goes to Josh Allen. I like Lamar. I love Lamar.
As long as it's
But
not Lamar, I'm good.
I think Josh Allen deserves it. I think he deserves it this year, in my opinion.
Yeah. Give him his Joel Embiid. Here you go, MVP.
Yeah, you gotta give him that, Joe. We'll see y'all in the next one.